All right, today we're going to learn about combining fractions. What you should have in front of you at the start of this video is a foldable that you're going to use for notes. It looks like this. You have unlike denominators on the top, like denominators on the bottom. What I want you to do is I want you to take it and I want you to fold it in half, hamburger style. Okay, once you fold it in half, you're going to have a crease in the center. What we're actually going to do is shutter fold this foldable. So I'm going to take each side and I'm going to bring it up to the black line or the crease that you made. Remember, you can pause the video at any time so that you can catch up or do what you need to do. Okay, so I've shutter folded, and now you're going to see that we've got like denominators on top and unlike denominators on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to be combining fractions. Remember when we were combining integers, we no longer added and subtracted integers. We talked about combining, and we used our T-charts when we combined integers. We're going to do the same thing with fractions. So let's take a look at what we're going to do with like denominators. Remember, like denominators mean that my fractions have the same number on the bottom. The denominator is the number on the bottom. So open up your foldable, and you're going to see that we've got steps first. Okay, so our first step is to combine the numerator. When we have like denominators, we only have to worry about the numerator. So we want to combine the numerators, keep the denominator the same. Remember, we don't add the denominators. We're talking about the same pieces, and so we do not put them together. And then my last step is to simplify. You always want to simplify your fractions into simplest form. Easy steps, 3 easy steps. We're going to combine the numerators, keep the denominator the same, and simplify. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples. On the left side, I see that I've got 3/8 plus 3/8. My denominators are the same. They are like denominators, and so now I just need to combine the numerators. This one is easy, but if I was to use the T-chart, you would see that I have a positive 3 and I have another positive 3, and so when I put them together, I have a positive 6. Combining the numerators, a positive 3 and a positive 3 gives me a positive 6. I keep the denominator the same. It is 8, so now I have 6/8. And then I'm going to simplify. When you simplify, you want to divide the numerator and the denominator by a common factor. And so I'm going to divide both by 2. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. And so my fraction simplified is 3/4. Okay, so now let's look at the second example. 5/6 plus 4/6. Again, I have, if I was to use a T-chart, you're going to see that I have a positive 5 and a positive 4, and when I combine them, I get a positive 9. So that goes on top as my numerator. I keep my denominator the same, and now I have 9/6. Now 9/6 is an improper fraction. I have more, my numerator is larger than my denominator, so I need to simplify this. I know that I have one whole, because 6/6 is one whole, and then I have 3 left over. That becomes my new numerator. My denominator always stays the same. And so now I have 1 and 3/6, and this can be simplified one more time to 1 and 1/2, because I know that 3/6 is 1/2. You can pause the video at any time so that you can make sure you get your notes correct. Okay, so now let's look over at the combining when I have negative numbers. Okay, my denominators are still the same. So I have 9/10 and I have a negative 4/10. I only have to look at the numerators. And so when I put it in my T-chart, I see I have a positive 9 and a negative 4. And so I have more positives. My positives win by 5. So a positive 9 and a negative 4 give me a positive 5. My denominator stays the same, so it's 5/10. 5/10, I know when I simplify that is 1/2. I divide both of these by 5. That is their common factor. Okay, so my next example, 3/5 minus 4/5. Okay, again, I'm going to use my T-chart because this time you're going to see that I have 3 positives and 4 negatives, and so I have more negatives. My negatives win by 1. So this one, when I combine the positive 3 and the negative 4, I get a negative 1, and my denominator stays the same. So this one is negative 1/5. Okay, so now we're going to look at unlike denominators. Unlike denominators, we have 2 extra steps that we need to do before we can combine numerators. Okay, so let's look at our steps. We want to find a common denominator. We want to make equivalent fractions. And then we're ready to combine the numerators, keep denominators the same, and simplify. Okay, so let's take a look at our example. 1/3 plus 1/4. My denominators are not the same. They have to be the same before we can combine. And so the way you're going to find a common denominator is you're going to skip count, list the multiples of each of the denominators until you find the first one that they have in common. So I'm going to do that down here. I'm going to start with 3. I know that the next multiple is 6, and then 9, 12, and I'm going to list one more, 15. These are the multiples of 3. Then I'm going to do the same thing with 4. I have 4, my next multiple is 8, and then it's 12. And I'm going to see that I've got 12 as my common denominator. That means that I can make equivalent fractions of both of these as a fraction over 12. So I'm going to put 12 here, and I'm going to put 12 here. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to take 1/3 and turn it into a fraction over 12. So you're going to ask yourself, well, 3 times what gives me 12? And I know that it is 3 times 4. What you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it by 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So then I have 4 twelfths. 1/3 is equal to 4 twelfths. I'm going to do the same thing over here. 4 times what is going to give me 12? You're going to see it is 3. You also see it here. 1, 2, 3. It is 3. I'm going to do the same thing here. Oops, I'm sorry, 3. And so 1 times 3 is 3. So 1/4 is also 3 twelfths. Okay, so now I'm going to rewrite my fractions. I have 4 twelfths plus 3 twelfths. Now I can combine my numerators. I have a positive 4 and a positive 3. That gives me a positive 7. My denominator stays the same, and so I have 7 twelfths. Okay, remember you can pause the video at any time so that you can get your notes or listen to the steps again. Okay, so now I'm over here. I have 1/2 minus 2/6. Okay, so my denominators are not the same. I need to find a common denominator. So I'm going to start with the multiples of 2. I have 2, then 4, and 6. And I notice that I can go to 6 and it matches the denominator of the second fraction. So I don't have to skip count by 6. I can take 1/2 and turn it into an equivalent fraction over 6. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same steps that I did here. 2 times what gives me 6? That's going to be 3. 2 times 3 gives me 6, so I'm going to take 1 times 3, which is going to give me 3. So then my fraction, my equation now reads 3/6 minus 2/6. Okay, so I have a positive 3 and a negative 2. If you put this in your T-chart, you're going to see I have a positive 3 and a negative 2. My positives win by 1. So my numerator is 1, my denominator stays the same, and so my answer is 1/6. Okay, if you have any questions about the steps in this foldable, then you need to raise your hand and I will come and visit with you about the foldable. If you are ready to, if you are complete with the notes, then you can go ahead and stop the video, or you can go ahead and get this ready for your journal and get ready for your assignment. Thank you.